So what I want to do is, really quick, this won't take long, I want to give you just a couple of reasons why I do not believe in this concept of transubstantiation, biblical reasons why I do not believe this, and then we will look at some scriptures concerning what communion actually is. Now, let's look again. Where are we? We're in Matthew 26, right? So Jesus says, he took the bread, in verse 26. It says he took the bread, he blessed and he broke it, and he gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Okay? And afterwards he says, gives them the cup and says, "Drink this, this is my blood." Okay, now, first reason I do not believe in transubstantiation is this. Because the Roman Catholic view is, look, he says, "This is my body." So there you go. It's his body. He says, "This is my blood." There you go. It's his blood. End of story. Well, they fail to recognize, unfortunately, that Jesus spoke symbolically all the time. All the time. When Jesus said, "I am the vine and you are the branches," what does that mean? Do we think that Jesus actually became a vine at that moment and his disciples started growing out of him? That's ridiculous. Jesus says, "I am the door." We don't believe that he was an actual door and that his disciples were walking. These things are ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." We don't believe that he became a big lamppost or anything like that shining on people. We understand that these are figurative, symbolic. And the only way that his disciples could have understood him at that moment would be symbolic. When he picks up the bread and he says, "This is my body," they're not thinking, "Wow, Jesus is just holding himself in his hands there." That's ridiculous. Of course they understood it to be figurative. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of what I mean so you get it. Okay? Now, that's me. Okay? And that's Stavrula. Alright? Now, who here actually thinks that this is really me and that's really Stavrula? You see me standing here, you see Stavrula sitting there, you're not thinking, "Wow, they've suddenly become very different." No, you understand that when I said this is me and this is Stavrula, you understood that I meant this drawing represents me. It's not really me. This is the only way that the disciples could have understood this when he says, "This is my body that is broken for you." It is a demonstration. He takes the bread, he breaks it. "This is my body that is broken for you." They didn't think, "Oh, he's holding Jesus, he's holding himself in his hands and he broke himself." This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let me give you a second reason why I do not believe in transubstantiation. Do you remember in the Old Testament, there were many food laws. There were many dietary laws. They were not allowed to eat certain unclean foods. And in the New Testament, of course, Christ has taken that away and we're allowed to eat. Thankfully. I'm very grateful for that. In Acts chapter 10, one of my favorite verses, Jesus brings all these unclean animals, pigs and stuff like that, and he shows them to Peter. And he says to him, my favorite words, he says, "Peter, kill and eat." And Peter unfortunately says, "No, not so, Lord, not going to happen." He says, I can't eat that. I've never eaten anything unclean in all my life. And Jesus basically said to him, "Don't call unclean what I've cleansed." Well, my point is, you see the repulsion that a good Jewish person would have against eating something unclean, because in the Old Testament it said they weren't allowed to eat it. Now, another very big commandment in the Old Testament was that no one was allowed to drink blood. That was huge. Don't do that. Do not drink blood. You were not allowed to do that in the Old Testament. And so here's my question. Am I expected to believe that when Jesus talks to these nice Jewish men, religious men, and he says to them, "This is my blood," am I expected to believe that they really thought that that was blood? And they said, "Oh yeah, no problem with that. Give me some of that blood to drink." They understood that it was figurative, symbolic. It symbolized his blood that was going to be shed for us. It wasn't really his blood. I know I'm stressing the point, but there are over 1 billion people in the world who believe this, at least claim to believe it. Finally, let me give you one last, there are many reasons I don't believe in it, but let me give you one final reason. Look at verse 28. Matthew 26. He has already in verse 27 told them to drink of the cup. In verse 28 he says, "For this is my blood of the new covenant." So according to Roman Catholic theology right there, it is switched. He said, "This is my blood." The switch has occurred. Right? Then look at verse 29. "But I say to you, I will not drink of this," what? "Of this fruit of the vine from now on." In verse 28, according to Roman Catholic theology, the switch has already occurred. It is no longer fruit of the vine, it is blood, because he said, "This is my blood." But in verse 29, he still continues to call it fruit of the vine. It is still wine or grape juice or what it was that they were drinking. It is not switched magically. And there are more reasons, but I won't tire you with them. A quick question that many of us may have, because we live in Greece surrounded by 10 million Greek Orthodox people, and many of us in our families and our friends are Greek Orthodox. You may say, okay, so I understand the Roman Catholics believe this concept of transubstantiation. What about the Greek Orthodox? And the answer is they believe it too. They also believe in this concept. The only difference is that the Greek Orthodox are far less clear in their theology. The more you study Greek Orthodoxy, the more confused you get. It's very, the Roman Catholics, the one thing that's good about them, I'm sorry. The one thing about Roman Catholicism is that it is very clear. It is very black and white. They have catechisms that are this huge. They will say, this is what we believe, this is why we believe it, end of story. It may be completely wrong, but it's very clear and understandable, black and white. Greek Orthodoxy, on the other hand, is not like that. It is far more mysterious and fluid and ambiguous. And so if you go to them and you say, "Do you believe in transubstantiation?" they'll say, "Yes." "Okay, well, explain it to me. So you're saying that this is worthy of worship and that it actually..." They'll say, "Well, we don't really know all the details. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. We don't really get into that stuff." You say, "So do you believe that this is a sacrifice offered by the priest?" "Yes." "But isn't that against what Scripture teaches, that Christ was sacrificed once?" "Well, we really don't get into that. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. It's kind of mysterious and everything." So they don't explain it as well as the Roman Catholics do, but nonetheless, it is part of Greek Orthodox doctrine also, unfortunately. Now, you may ask me and say, "Nico, you spend a lot of time on showing us what communion is not. Why do we need to do this? Why can't we just look at the Scriptures and see what it is?" Well, we live among so many people with so many crazy ideas, wrong religious ideas, that I think it is important to at least know what it is that they teach, so that when we encounter them and when we discuss the Scriptures with them, that we can show what the truth is. And we need to know what they believe so that we can deal with it. And second of all, we need to be prepared so that when they come with their false doctrines, that they don't deceive us by them. We need to be careful, and we need to know what the Scriptures do teach.